The Koalition.
Okay, so okay, now this particular topic, and this I believe is the main topic for today. Obviously, we received news earlier this week that Sony CEO Kaz Hirai is stepping down. I did saw we had someone in the chat. They wanted to clarify what was said to say that he is not leaving Sony, but I don't really know all of the details concerning this. All I know is that he's stepping down, stepping aside, and that they're going to have they're going to have another person.
Yoshida.
So Yoshida, okay, yeah. So Yoshida's taking over the role of CFO, I guess.
Kenichiro Yoshida.
Okay. All right,
not Shuhei, not Shuhei. Let's make that clear. It's not Shuhei.
Yeah, no, definitely not him. Not him. Okay, so obviously, I guess you pose a question, Gary, of how is this going to impact PlayStation moving forward, or Sony in general? How about you share your thoughts first, and then I'm gonna let Mr. Lugo share his thoughts.
Yeah, so the guy that said that he's not stepping down, he is kind of right. Like he's going into a new position, like he's becoming the chairman instead of the CEO. And I think in this case, because Kaz Hirai specifically stated that he's worn down, and that's the reason why he proposed this change. So in this case, I think like the chairman actually is less active than the CEO. Like the CEO is the one that's doing all the running around and running the company and stuff, whereas the chairman will take more of a background kind of role, unless you're Vince McMahon. But yeah, I think in this case the chairman would take more of a background role kind of thing, and that's why he wants it, because he's been working for so long and he feels worn down. So that just to clarify that. So yeah, he's basically changing his title. He's going to be the chairman instead of the CEO, but this is still going to have a huge impact on the company. Now Yoshida has kind of been his right-hand man while he's been the CEO. They've made a lot of important decisions together, and the cell phone business in that for Sony has been kind of suffering as of late. And Yoshida has actually made the suggestions that they scale back on the phone division of Sony. So now that he's becoming the CEO, that might be something that we begin to see. And as a result, who knows what they're going to do with the money that they then retain. Maybe they're gonna aim to distribute that money more towards PlayStation and the entertainment side of things. There's also been a lot of rumors that have surfaced this week about Sony wanting to sell off some of its IPs. So that could come into major consideration now as well. A lot of people are saying Disney, might buy all those IPs and stuff like that, and it's both scary and interesting. Like I would like Marvel to have Spider-Man again, the movie rights and everything fully, but it's also scary because like that gives Disney too much power in the entertainment industry. But yeah, Sony, like they do bleed a lot of money though, so it is a problem that they need to address and make sure that things are kind of sustainable in the long term. And like PlayStation has been doing well over the past few years, but there was a report that said that sales have began to kind of slow down a little bit, even though they're still doing well. I'm not saying they're not doing well anymore. They're still doing well. They're still selling. It's just that it's slowed down. Now, this might actually just be because everybody has a PS4 at this point. Like, who hasn't got one? Who's a gamer? Like, everyone's got a PS4. So that might be why it's slowing down. But obviously, all of these things are going to come into consideration. So I do think moving forward, we will see some changes to how the company is run and how it's handled and the distribution of funds and, the budgeting and everything. I think there's going to be a lot of changes there. over the coming years for Sony. But we like whether it's gonna impact anything major on the PlayStation side, it might take a while for us to really see those changes, actually happen. And what was I had another point I was gonna say, but I kind of forgot. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say until I remember what I was gonna say. So go ahead.
Okay, that's totally fine. Mr. Lugo, what are your thoughts on this particular news?
I really don't have much to contribute compared to what Gary had said. I'm pretty much in agreement with it. I don't think, however, it's worrisome to me that if some of the film IPs go over to other companies like Disney, again, for like Spider-Man or any of the other IPs that they have over there, that would include like the Venom movie and stuff, the whole Spider-Verse thing, which is what's supposed to be ramping up now with Sony Pictures and stuff. I'm also curious to know if all these kind of like shifts around would affect Sony Music, because I think that's a whole nother aspect to all that stuff. But in addition to that, again, I don't think as far as gaming, a lot is going to really change. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of shakeup with some of these kind of like shifts around in some of the different positions between Kaz Hirai, and remember Andrew House was stepping down, or he's just stepped down not too long ago, etc. I mean, we still got people like Sean Layden over there. We got a whole bunch of other people over there that are still taking the reins and kind of like, doing a lot of work with the PlayStation brand or just Sony in general. So I don't think it's going to have a huge impact, but it is noteworthy. Maybe down the line, years from now, this will probably be like, the first startings of other stuff that probably come into effect later on. But I don't think it's anything to cause like panic or even to cause like a huge amount of excitement.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to bring up. Andrew House also left, a few months ago. So Andrew House, obviously, he's probably more involved on a day-to-day basis with the decision making, and
he's legacy PlayStation, straight up.
Yeah, exactly. So with him gone, that was going to be the major change that happened. But Kaz Hirai like changing role or whatever. We probably won't see many changes until the very long term after, because they have like the way corporations like that work is they plan years ahead for stuff. So we're probably not going to see any immediate changes because they're probably just planning to continue on this year as they've already planned. So
one thing I should mention, this isn't like what happened at Microsoft where there was a big shakeup that we saw a lot of changes that went on afterwards with like the Kinect, the Xbox One, and even the Xbox 360. And this isn't even like how when Jack Tran stepped down and Jack Tran left. Like this is like on a much more subdued, lower, smaller level then, as far as like changes are concerned.
Yeah, those are very good points. One thing I want to say on this topic real quick is, I think it will obviously be some changes. It's probably hard to gauge right now exactly what changes are coming because we still need to see all of this other stuff that's coming in that, further on when we start getting into the next PlayStation console, so on and so forth. So in terms of the actual PlayStation division, I don't personally think it's going to impact that because I know that division is making a ton of money for Sony right now. So I don't think they want to do anything too severe to really shake that up in the sense that it's going to cause issues. I mean, right now, they are the best-selling console this generation. And, well, I think at that moment in time, they're going to keep that. I mean, they have a lot of great titles coming, so they're going to keep that momentum on them. So, again, there will be some changes to Sony as a whole, but I don't think any of that stuff is going to happen that fast. Now, maybe about a year or 2 years from now, it could be a totally different story. I do agree that if they was to sell some of the franchises, the movie franchises, that probably would be for the best. Marvel, I think, should get ownership of Spider-Man once again. But, I mean, it all depends on what's best for them. But I do think that considering the success of PlayStation, they may double down on that and invest more money into that. And if there is a sale of any of these IPs, I do see them taking some of that money and investing that back into PlayStation because they have a ton of success from PlayStation already. Why not just add more to that success and invest in other titles being made for the future. But again, not really too much I have to say on it either, because I'm not really sure how it's going to impact. The one thing I will say that I am sad to see happen is the Kaz Hirai Twitter account, which will also be disappearing this year, because I was very entertained by all the stuff that I saw on there. So that's unfortunate. But outside of that, you know, you got to give Kaz his credit. He's done great things for Sony. So, you know, he felt like it was time to step down. I have no issue with that whatsoever. And yes, there will definitely be changes, because anytime you make changes in the business, there's guaranteed to be some type of things that happen. But overall, I don't really think it's anything to worry about. You know, I think Sony is doing well. So, well, PlayStation is doing well. So I don't really think it's anything severe, in my personal opinion. But any other thoughts on this particular topic before we get ready to wrap up here in a little while?
I think this actually confirms that the quote unquote fake Kaz Hirai account is actually really Kaz Hirai, because, you know, both are stepping down, so it's a bit suspicious. Like I think that's really his troll account. So yeah. But I was also gonna reply to Victor, because he said, I think the main thing to look at is the future prospects. Can Sony ever move to the tech industry and rival or come close to its peers? And that's a good point, because when you do compare Sony to a lot of other companies out there, they don't always have a lot of growth. Now, within the gaming industry itself, you know, there are times when they show some growth and innovation here and there, you know, mainly on a software level though. But yeah, there are times when they shine on, you know, when it comes to PlayStation. But when you look at Sony as a whole, they really haven't like innovated in a major way over the past few years like other tech companies have. So that is a good question. I do think, like, because tech is an always evolving kind of industry. So I do think they should probably work on their R&D a little bit and see if they can kind of get back in the game a little bit, because there's a lot of stuff going on in tech that they can be a part of, you know. Like for example, this is just an example, I'm not saying they should do this, but you know, there's the Google Home and Amazon Alexa stuff going on. Like they could, you know, that's a market they could get into, for example. And there's so many things they can try and do to really show some more growth within the company. But I think over the years, they really have been trying to focus more on entertainment as a whole, you know, PlayStation and movies and everything. But technology-wise, they haven't made a significant impact, and they are actually just sold off the laptop market, you know, the Sony Vaio. They just sold that off, and when it comes to other stuff that they've been known for in the tech industry, they haven't been doing the best, you know, like their phones aren't doing well and stuff. So yeah, I do think there's a lot of room for growth in that regards to Sony, but that's just something that's going to take a lot more planning, a lot of long-term planning for them. But that's all I got to say at the moment.
I agree. Very good points all throughout. I mean, we'll have to wait and see what essentially Sony is going to do with all this news. Yeah, I know you mentioned earlier about Andrew House stepping down. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll have to see what the end result is of all of this. I don't think it's going to be an immediate, you're going to notice any changes immediately. But I think within the next 2 years, or whenever we see the PlayStation 5 deciding, you know, if that's what they call it, PS5 or whatever, I think by then you may start to see some stuff. But I think for right now, PlayStation fans, they have a lot to look forward to. I mean, we know God of War is coming out April 20th. We know that Detroit, we know Spider-Man and Detroit, Spider-Man and Days Gone, all supposedly coming out this year. And then, of course, in the future, you have Death Stranding, as well as The Last of Us Part 2. So there's a lot to look forward to. And I haven't even mentioned stuff like Dreams, which I know, Gary, you've already said that is your most anticipated game of 2018. So
I've heard a lot of
looks
people
amazing.
talking about that, like in various places, including at PSX, that they're saying different things and like really praising it. I still don't see it yet. Like I understand it's that game that, you know, you're gonna have to create stuff and it's gonna be, you know, things that kind of like, you know, build up to a vision and other things that are much more for the creative crowd. And for people like me that don't create stuff, it's more about playing other people's creations. But I still don't see that as like as a big deal to someone like me, though. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree also with you because I didn't see really anything of Dreams when we were at PSX, so I don't really know. I'm not really bought into that yet.
People didn't get to play it there. They only got to see it like beforehand. I think it was at, you know, certain stuff at like Paris Games Week or going to like Sony headquarters or something. But it was them talking about it, really like speaking about it and talking with other different people about that, their particular experiences with it.
I got you. Well, I guess we'll see whether or not it lives up to the praise that some have been giving it. But I do know what we did see. Detroit looks great. Everything else we saw from Sony there looks awesome. So it's a lot to look forward to.